Let us see address space. The 128 bit of IPv6 addresses means the size of the IPv6 address space is just like the numbers that describe the number of stars in a galaxy or the distance to the farthest pulsars. Since IPv6 addresses are using 128 bit long, the theoretical address space is, if all the addresses were used, is 2 raised to power 128 addresses. This number when expanded out is this one, this much number, which is normally expressed in scientific notation as about 3.4 into 10 raised to power 38 addresses. That's about 340 trillion addresses. It's pretty hard to grasp just how large this number is. Let us consider it's enough address space for many trillions of addresses to be assigned to every human being on the planet. The Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. If we had assigned IPv6 addresses at a rate of 1 billion per second since the Earth was formed, we would have by now used up less than 1 trillionth of the address space. The Earth's surface area is about 510 trillion square meters. If a typical computer has a footprint of about a tenth of square meter, we would have to stack computers 10 billion high, blanketing the entire surface of the Earth to use up that same trillionth of the address space. Means it provides a huge number of address spaces. Let us see address space allocation. Like the address space of IPv4, the address space of IPv6 is divided into several blocks of varying size, and each block is allocated for special purpose. To better understand the allocation and the location of each block in address space, we first divide the whole address space into 8 equal ranges. This division does not show the block allocation, but we believe it shows where each actual block is located. See this figure. Each section is 1/8 of the whole address. 1/8 of the whole address. So total 8 blocks are there. Each one is of 1/8. That is 2 raised to power 125 addresses. The first section contains 6 variable size block. This one. 3 of these blocks are reserved and 3 unassigned. The second section is consider one single block and is used for global unicast addresses. We'll discuss this global unicast address in detail in next sections. The last section is divided into 8 blocks. This one divided into 8 blocks. Some of these blocks are still unassigned and some are reserved for special purposes. This figure shows that more than 5/8, this one, more than 5/8, this 5/8, and some reserved are here, and these 3 are also reserved or unassigned. Of the address space is still unassigned. Only 1/8 of the address space is used for unicast communication between the users. Let us see types of IP address. There are 3 major categories of IPv6 address: unicast, anycast, multicast. Let us see one by one. Unicast. It is for single interface. A unicast address identifies a single interface. When a network device sends a packet to unicast address, the packet goes only to the specific interface identified by that address. Unicast addresses support a global address scope and two types of local address scopes. A unicast address consists of n bits of the prefix and 128 minus n bits for the interface ID. In the IPv6 implementation for a subscriber access network, the following types of unicast addresses can be used. Number one, global unicast. A unique IPv6 address assigned to a host interface. These addresses have a global scope and essentially the same purpose as IPv4 public address. Global unicast addresses are routable on the internet. Second one is link local. IPv6 address that allows communication between neighboring host that resides on the same link. That is called as link local address. Link local address have a local scope and cannot be used outside the link. They always have prefix FE80/10. Loopback address. An IPv6 address used on a loopback interface. The IPv6 loopback address is 7 times 0 1, means this one, /128, which can be noted as 1/128, that unspecified IPv6 address. An IPv6 unspecified address is all 8 times 0/128, which can be noted as this one, unique local, similar to private address and in IPv4 and not intended to be routable in the IPv6 internet. Last is embedded IPv4, an IPv6 address that carries an IPv4 address in the low order of 32-bit of the address. Multicast address. An IPv6 multicast address defines a group of devices known as multicast group. A multicast address identifies a set of interfaces that typically belongs to different nodes. When a network device sends a packet to a multicast address, the address broadcasts the packet to all interfaces identified by that address. IPv6 does not support broadcast addresses, but instead uses multicast address in this role. Anycast address. An anycast address identifies a set of interfaces that typically belongs to different nodes. Anycast addresses are similar to multicast addresses, except that packets are sent only to one interface, not to all interfaces. The routing protocol used in the network usually determines which interface is physically closest within the set of anycast addresses and routes the packet along with the shortest path to its destination. There is no difference between anycast address and unicast address except for the subnet router address. Let us see with the pictorial view of unicast, multicast and anycast address. As we know that a unicast address refers to a single host, meaning to send data to a single destination, that is one-to-one. If computer 1 or host 1 is intended to transmit a data packet to this network, so in unicast address is used and that can be transmitted that data packet to any one of this network. The range of this unicast is 2001/16. In multicast, it can be used to deliver a packet to a group of destination. That is, it is work over one-to-many concept. The range of this network is multicast address is FF00/8. So whenever this computer transmits data packet, sends data packet, that will over the router, and that can be sent to each host of the network. And the most important, that is Anycast, that is last one, that just like a multicast, it defines a group of computers that all share a single address. But the difference is that this computer, whenever intended to transmit a data packet to any other host, it is not to the host. Remember, it is always to the server. So these are the servers, and whenever this computer system is transmitting data packet, that is via router, that can be transmitted to the router, and from router to the various servers, but it uses the shortest path. For example, the server is located in India, in US, or in UK. If this computer system transmitting data packet to this server, the most closest of this computer, this host, is this server, so that will transmit to this server. So that is Anycast. Let us see global unicast address. This block in the address space that is used for unicast, that is one-to-one communication between two hosts in the internet, is called global unicast address block. CIDR notation for the block is 20003, which means that the three leftmost bits are the same for all addresses in this block, that is 001. The size of this block is 2 raised to power 125 bits, which is more than enough for the internet expansion in the many years to come. An address in this block is divided into three parts: global routing prefix, subnet identifier, and interface identifier. Global routing prefix. The first 48 bits of a global unicast address are called global routing prefix. These 48 bits are used to route the packet through the internet to the organization sites such as ISP that owns the block. Since the first 3 bits in this part is fixed, that is 001, the rest of the 45 bits can be defined up to 2 raised to power 45 sites. The global routers in the internet route a packet to its destination site based on the value of n. The second part is subnet identifier. The next 16-bit defines a subnet in organization. This means that an organization can have up to 2 raised to power 16 subnets, which is more than enough. And the third and last part of this hierarchy is the last 64 bits that defines the interface identifier. The interface identifier is similar to host ID in IP version 4 addressing, although the term interface identifier is a better choice because we know that the host identifier actually defines the interface, not the host. If the host is moved from one interface to another, its IP address needs to be changed. Let us see IP version 6 auto configuration. One important goal for IP version 6 is to support node plug and play. That it should be possible to plug a node into an IP address, IPv6 network, and have it automatically configure without any human intervention. That may be possible. As we discussed in IPv4, the host and routers are originally configured manually by the network manager. The dynamic host configuration protocol, that is DHCP, can be used to allocate an IP address to a host that joins the network. An IPv6 DHCP protocol can still be used to allocate an IPv6 address to a host, but a host can also configure itself. Let us see the several steps to auto configure its interface in IPv6. The host first creates a link local address for itself. This is by taking the 10-bit link local prefix, that is 111, 1110 and 11, that is adding 54 zeros, and adding the 64-bit interface identifier, which any host knows how to generate it from its interface card. The result is 128-bit link local address. The host then adds test to see if this link local address is unique and not used by other hosts. Since the 64-bit interface identifier is supposed to be unique, the link local address generated is unique with a high probability. If the uniqueness of the link local address is passed, the host stores this address as its link local address, that is private for private communication. But it still needs a global unicast address. The host sends a router solicitation message to a local router. If there is a router running on the network, the host receives a router advertisement message that includes the global unicast prefix and the subnet prefix that the host needs to add its interface identifier to generate its global unicast address. If the router cannot help the host with the configuration, it informs the host in router advertisement message. The host then needs to use other means for configuration. And last is renumbering. Renumbering is used whenever the service provider changes. So it changes, it renumbers of the address prefix that was built into the IPv6 addressing. As we know that each site is given a prefix by the service provider to which it is connected. If the site changes the provider, the address prefix needs to be changed. A router to which the site is connected can advertise a new prefix and let the site use the old prefix for a short time before disabling it. We can say during the transmission period, a site has two prefixes. The main problem in using the renumbering mechanism is the support of DNS, which needs to propagate the new addressing association with a domain name. A new protocol for DNS called Next Generation DNS is understood to provide support for this mechanism. So here we complete the first topic of the second.